Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of January 1st, 2017. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here, and a huge, heartfelt Happy New Year to everybody out there. Truly so grateful to be continuing this journey with you and to begin another year with you right now. But let's jump in here first because we've got some powerful things taking place this week. One of them is Neptune meeting Mars in the sky. Now, this particular conversation is one of dreams and of believing that dreams can come true. It's one of miracles and allowing miracles to transpire in ways that keep the mystery intact but allow them to come forward. It is an energy with these two planets meeting specifically in the sign of Pisces. It is about understanding our innate connection to everyone and everything. And there's a real sense of community, a real sense of communion under a sky like this and under an aspect like this. So this can be really powerful. This is energy that is especially strong as we are starting the week and as we are starting a new year. So all of us in at least one area of life can expect to feel positively inspired. And this is some really nice energy to be starting a new year with, because it means that we'll be dreaming big, we'll be thinking high, we'll have this sense that anything is possible. And that can create a momentum that carries us throughout the year to achieve some really beautiful things. But of course, we have another conversation happening. The sky is always varied. And the one that I'm looking at in particular is the sun meeting Pluto in the sky. Now, this happens once a year. The sun will ease up to Pluto once a year. This is their annual meeting. And the sun meeting Pluto in the sky like this at the start of the year. Now, think about all the things I just told you about Mars meeting Neptune. That's a lot about the dream, the fantasy, being carried away, right? Being swept away. If you feel it, if you have faith, that's all that really matters. Well, the sun meeting Pluto is quite different. The sun meeting Pluto is a moment for all of us to appreciate where it is that things are the way that they really are, having to take reality as it is. And especially when it is a reality, I have to say, with Pluto, things tend to feel not fair. There tends to be a feeling of, having to confront some very deep emotions, sometimes some painful emotions as well. And there is going to be at least one moment of truth of where it is that we have felt disappointed, or where it is that we have felt hurt, and where it is that things are a certain way, where we have power, and especially where we don't. Now, Mars and Pluto both have to do with this understanding of power, understanding it deeply, what it is, where we have it, where we don't, understanding where power is about what we can do and where true power comes from acceptance. That is part of the distinction that happens with Mars and Pluto. So both of these archetypes being activated in this way does suggest that we are going to have a very strong awareness of where we have power and where we really do not, and having to find peace within it. Now, with Pluto, sometimes the awareness is of unfairness, but also sometimes the awareness is of surrender, and where surrender can bring the greatest power. And it also has to do with trusting fate, that there is a grand, beautiful fate playing out, and to trust the pull of it. Now, all of us in at least one area of life are going to find ourselves having a moment of truth, a moment of realization, and that itself lending to a moment of acceptance. Now, the sun meeting Pluto in the sky makes it very hard to keep things secret, especially if it is something taboo, especially if it is something that challenges ethics in particular. So this is a chance to check in with ourselves. If you feel like you've been behaving in ways or things have been transpiring that on some level you're not comfortable with, this is going to be the obviousness of that. But also with a sky like this, as much as the temptation will be there to go off on a secret fantasy at the start of the week, chances are it won't stay secret. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that at the start of the week, if you are so inclined to have the wine flowing, to have the alcohol flowing, things can get really, really carried away, and they could go in directions that you don't anticipate, but then you have to be accountable for as we get to the end of the week. Now, sometimes with Pluto, we understand that fate is very loving. Sometimes we have a deeper understanding that sometimes what hurts and seems unfair in the immediacy is actually lending us to and leading us to greater love and greater wisdom, a more positive outcome in the fullness of time. So that is part of the trust here. What I've also found is that sometimes there can be an ending. Now, we did just have a new moon, which negates some of that ending energy. But when the sun meets Pluto in the sky, there may be an ending now. But that ending will be one that, yes, on one level feels a little hurtful, but on another level can feel like, oh, thank God that's over. And I think when we've had this recent new moon last week, that had us all starting in new directions, new ambitions, and really taking ownership for what we desire to achieve and what we desire to manifest. Considering we just had this new moon, it's almost like we will see the wisdom in whatever it is that needs to come to a close now. Remember, keywords right now are faith in miracles, but also the realness of how things can actually be when we look at them with a complexity. That is a strong dichotomy there. And as I was looking at the sky for this week, I was thinking about how the earliest religions, some of the earliest religions of humanity were sort of had one of the key principles based on duality, and some religions still do. This idea that every principle, every virtue has its other side. So this is something that we see again and again in ancient religions and ancient spiritualities, and even in some modern cultures as well. But when I see a sky like this, it really is like opposite ends of a certain spiritual awareness. As much as things can get just fueled by faith and almost dreamlike, things can also be having to look at some deeper and sometimes not necessarily very enlightened truths about our human experience. So both of those will be very much on the surface. And you know, that moment you think that one thing is not in you, the moment you start projecting something outside of yourself, that is the moment when it becomes that much more obvious what is within you. So what I mean by that is, you know, I remember one of my spiritual teachers teaching me that there's a bit of good in the worst of us, and there's a bit of bad in the best of us. And right now, I think that is part of our spiritual lesson as a collective, with Saturn moving through the sign of Sagittarius. But with a sky like this, that spiritual lesson is going to be very much on the surface for all of us, having that appreciation that sometimes those very things that we deny are part of us is the exact reason why there's actually a moment here, a spiritual opportunity here to look in the mirror and own that which we reject. It is in that process that true spiritual gain can be made. And that process in itself lends itself to that sense of unity that much more. Understanding that we all, regardless of what we've done, regardless how things look on the surface, all of us are a part of everyone and everything. Also this week, some sweet, sweet harmony, sweet changes transpiring now with Venus moving into the sign of Pisces, sort of adding a sense of awareness and a boost to that beautiful connection between Mars and Neptune happening in that sign this week. Mercury will be dancing in harmony with that Venus as he gears to retro back into the sign of Sag. Now, as we start next week, and I'll be here to talk about it then, but next week we're going to have Mercury go direct. So pay attention to what's happening as we finish off this week. In some way, it is going to be reminiscent of what was taking place for us about a month ago. So whatever issues it was that started to arise for you in early December, now is the time as we finish off this week that some of those issues may come up for final closure and final understanding. Of course, I'll be here to talk about it next week as well when Mercury officially goes direct, but this is where, when a planet is about to change energies, its energy tends to be most pronounced at that, as we will find as we move towards the end of the week. It's all about communicating with each other, sharing information, and getting things clear on a level of mind, asking things again, going back, making sure that you got it right. And wherever it is that we need to redo, recycle, re-edit, this is going to be that perfect chance to show us where our energy is best spent. What I love about the sky this week is that sense of getting to some real fundamentals, some real spiritual truths about ourselves, and understanding that we're not all one thing. And you certainly are not all one thing either. You're not the worst thing you ever did. You're not the best thing you ever did. But all of us are here sharing this human experience, trudging this road as we learn some very sacred things in our own unique, messy ways together. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm truly so grateful for it. Now, before I jump into the brief announcements that I have today, I do want to give a shout out to Samantha. Now, Samantha has been sending a few messages. I haven't had a chance to see them because, as some of you know, the universe has been saying, be silent in all things. Listen, trust. These have been the big universal messages for me. And you can probably hear it right now, right? Still, it's not totally 100%. I am under doctor's orders to be silent. But I did want to put something out there for you guys, especially because it is a new year. But anyways, Samantha has been sending a few messages that I just got to see today. And she said, I don't care how sick you are, you need to talk about Uranus going direct. I appreciate the enthusiasm a lot. Thank you for that. So because Samantha has been so enthusiastic, friend and fan, of course, I will talk about Uranus going direct. Uranus slowed down to a stop late last week. Now, as we're starting the new year, we've got Uranus in full force, full energy, full enthusiasm, ready to march forward, ready to break through boundaries. Now, whenever a planet is retro, its energies turn inward. So its energies become more reflective and more focused on you, your state of spirit, your state of heart. A Uranus retrograde will ask us to look at where it is that we need to be the change. We need to be the revolution that we wish to see in the world. We wish to be the equality that we wish to see in the world. It asks us to take ownership, to go on a personal journey. But when Uranus goes direct, the energy is more focused outwards, and it becomes on creating change in our world, in our individual lives, and in the people, also our environment, like our local environment, and even world environment as well. And a lot of this push tends to be towards fairness, equality, clarity, honesty. These are some very strong keywords for Uranus. So everybody out there in at least one area of life is having an epiphany of sorts. And that epiphany can take all kinds of shades and be deeply personal. But in some way we are realizing where it is that our effort is best spent, especially right now, if we are going to experience the type of change that we know we deserve to see in our lives and in our world. This can also be, depending on where that Uranus is in your chart, it can be a personal epiphany, if not one of those, sort of typical, not necessarily typical, right? Very, very uniquely life-changing moments, like a defining moment where all of a sudden you saw things very clearly. When Uranus is standing still in a key position in your chart, that is exactly the type of experience that can happen to you. Now, considering that we are having this experience as we are finishing one year and we're starting the next, I think a lot of us are going to be like over ready for change. We're going to feel very much ready to live a different experience. We're going to feel very much ready to have this personal clarity that's going to benefit our lives in the outward sense. Now, keep in mind, of course, Mercury is retro, but will only be retro for the first week or so, and then it's going to slow down and go direct as well. So it's not that long a wait, right? And very soon it's going to be feeling very much like all systems go forward. Wherever it is that you've been asking for the type of insight that's going to create a meaningful change in your life, that's going to allow you to feel like you can truly embrace all you are in your uniqueness, and you can truly live that truth in the world. This is some really great energy as we're finishing this year and starting the next, some really great energy to cultivate these very cosmic blessings available to us now. Well, thank you so much. Again, just a very quick announcement I have, and that is my friend Katie Weber, a dear friend of mine, Feng Shui, renowned worldwide Feng Shui expert. She has a must-have success pack. I always get it every single year, and it has blessed my life for the last couple of years. Big changes have happened for me professionally and personally as a result of her work. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that. Use the links in the description of the YouTube video. So please have a look at the description. Those links will take you directly there. I have partnered with her also to share with you her free 28-day prosperity program. It's an online e-course. It's amazing. I really did love using her suggestions as well. So have a look at those links in the YouTube description. And other than that, I think that, this is definitely a time for me that's saying reflect, be silent. I have all these ideas and all these things that I wanted to introduce to you guys. And I was like pushing forward. I was so enthusiastic. And then this happened with my voice. And at first I fought it. I didn't like it at all. It was very inconvenient. And then, it was really my mom, who's one of my spiritual teachers, my mom, she sort of said to me, you know what, remember, this is happening for a higher reason, a good reason, for your love, for your wisdom, for your happiness, for your prosperity. Everything that happens is because you are loved. And that has been one of the sort of guiding principles of my life. And the older I get, the more I realize where that comes from, right? We don't sort of come out of nowhere. We don't sort of come out of a vacuum. Chances are normally we've had these influences, cultural, yes, family influences certainly as well. I was remembering, when my mom told me this, and that started to shift my energy. And instead of sort of going full throttle forward, being like, no, this has got to happen, I said, okay, universe, I get it. You want me to listen. And so my hope is that as we're ending this year, and I would invite you to do the same as well, because I will be. I don't have much of a choice. I'll be listening to myself and to others as well. And, also I'm reminded of something. My mom, when I was a little girl, I feel so blessed to have the parents that I did. Really exceptional people. Always very grateful for them. To this day, exceptional people. And when I was growing up, my mom taught me that all the religions in the world, they teach us to be a good person. And if you're a good person, if you're a loving person, then you are a part of them all. And I have had the privilege of living my life that way. I have had the privilege to go, since I was a little girl, we went to places of worship of every major religion that I could imagine. As I grew older as well, I went to places of worship of so many different religions. And I knew that this ultimately was about connecting me to some energy of love and wisdom within me. Even if I didn't articulate it that way, now I can appreciate the older I get, and especially with having this conversation with my mom, where she really reminded me, okay, this is about love and wisdom. What's happening with you now, it's about moving you towards greater love and greater wisdom. Having that insight reminded me of what a blessing it has been for me to understand that connection we have to everyone and everything, and to understand that ultimately all of us, as part of the great mystery, we are moving towards greater love and greater wisdom. And the celebration of love can be wherever you intend it to be. So as we finish this year, as we start a new year, these are some of the things that I'm going to be meditating on and sitting with. And I hope that you will as well. And the fact that you are here, really, everything I put in the world, as you know, is about affirming that the universe is wise and loving. That's all of it. That's really the motivation behind everything I do. And the fact that you're here allows me to live that mission. But also I feel like it allows that affirmation to grow stronger and stronger among us all. And now with Uranus standing still, with this very, sacred reminder that Samantha facilitated, thank you, Samantha, for facilitating that, I am reminded in perfect time, in this perfect space, in this perfect moment, that this very affirmation can be the change in the world, that can facilitate that great change in the world, that allows us to know that ultimately it's all a reflection, and ultimately love is wherever it is that we intend it to be. So as you can hear, because my voice has needed to rest, the universe has been saying, don't speak, listen. Because of that, really all videos have been on hold. I'm so sorry about that. If you're waiting for a personalized horoscope, I appreciate your patience. I know a lot of you have been asking about 2017 horoscopes, monthly horoscopes. I'm so sorry about that. And my hope is that you will stay with me, right? Continue marching with me, and to trust even this moment as well. I do trust that all of this, as I've been reminded this week as well, all of this is a part of moving us in a direction of greater love and greater wisdom. And with Uranus going direct right now, I hope that we all remember that and we connect with that within ourselves. I know it's something I'll be meditating on, connecting with this sacred truth and trying to recognize how even what looks less than desirable on the surface is actually part of this larger movement that we're all going through towards affirming our inherent love and wisdom and unity as well. So I wish you an incredible new year. I thank you so much for being a part of my spiritual journey, for seeing me as some small part of yours as well. And I will be back here next week. I'm hoping in full force. Please send positive love and energy. I'm accessing it as well. I'm hoping in full force, but if for some reason not, it's okay. I will trust the wisdom, or I will have my mother remind me to trust the love and wisdom in it. And I'll try to be here next week as well, even if just to whisper an overview or something or other. Okay, thank you. I'm truly so grateful. It'll be a great year and it will be a great week. Enjoy.